So that's comics on cards. Cards is a little bit different of a story because really cards have just totally blown up in the last 2 to 3 years.
You talking any cards, Pokemon cards, baseball cards, football,
A little
or
bit
just
of
in general?
in general, cards has just boomed. Pokemon has seen the biggest explosion, or what they call TCG, trading card games. Back in the day, you used to go to card shows, and it was probably 90% sports and 10% trading card games, which would be Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! Today, you go into card shows, and it's probably 60-40. 60% are there for TCG, Pokemon, 40% is there for sports. So Pokemon has just exploded. All these kids that were playing the video games back in the 90s.
So you got to have these cards to play the game?
You do have to have the cards to play the card game.
Oh.
But you don't have to have them graded.
Okay.
But man, when you walk into the tournament and you got graded cards.
They drool?
Oh yeah, you look like Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz.
Card, there's not as much to take into consideration like you would a comic book.
Well, there's only 2 sides for one thing.
There's only 2 sides.
Mm-hmm.
And basically,
it's a tenth the size.
A tenth of the size. Yeah, you can store it easier. They're easier to collect. You know.
Now, I know you bought a high dollar one
a
few weeks ago, and I think you done a short on it.
I did.
So when that gets back, we'll have to give them an update.
We will.
That'll be interesting.
That's a good one to talk about. We were talking about how do you determine a grading company. So I could have sent it to Beckett, CGC.
Now, what do you estimate? I know you won't know it was graded, but so they know what kind of dollar was you thinking in your head when you was picking your company?
I think that card is a minimum of a 9. That card's going to be worth $1,400 at a minimum. And that's if it came back a 9. I had a choice. I could send it into Beckett. It would be probably 4 business weeks. I could send it into PSA, and I'm looking at, I think they're advertising now 8 to 9 business weeks.
That's something good to tell people too, even on the coins. I figured 2 months.
At least.
I don't even think about it. Sometimes it's less. I've had them 3 and 4 months, so it's not a quick turnaround. The other thing I might caveat on, especially the ungraded stuff, people bring in a box of Pokemon or baseball cards. Very few of them have any real value. Most of them are 50 cents. Is our bucket out there $1 a piece or $2 a piece?
Yeah, anywhere from $1 to $5.
What you got to remember, you may have a $10 or $20 Pokemon card in there, but he might spend 2 hours at that counter going through cards. And at some point, it's just not cost effective.
Yeah.
So he might just throw a number for the box, and if we get lucky and there's one good one in there. So that goes back to our episode of don't get upset if we can't come to the same price, because that is a big factor. And he can spend a lot of time at this counter. It's the same with coinage, but silver, all of silver has some value. So it's not quite the same, but it's a massive amount of manpower to go through a whole box of them. And then some of them you got to look up to see that you might think is worth something. Mm-hmm. So I always have to factor that labor in.
You bring up a good point.
I have a good point.
Say it takes 3 months to grade. At the end of the day, that is still a silver coin worth silver value.
Yeah.
On a Pokemon card, it's like that Pikachu that I just sent out. Time factor was a big deal. I chose to send it to Beckett. I didn't send it to PSA, which would shock a lot of people. A lot of people say, oh, you should have went with PSA. But think about it. I can have the card back in 3 to 4 weeks. I can sell it and turn my money. PSA, I'm waiting 8 to 9 business weeks. Well, how many more of those cards are going to be found, printed, graded, back onto the market? I mean, they're still printing those cards. So the value could drop drastically in that time frame. I was looking at it from a standpoint of what's the market going to be?
You don't know. What's the economy going to be?
And you don't know. So to me, when I looked at the price discrepancies between a Beckett 9, a Beckett 9.5, a Beckett 10 versus a PSA 9 and a PSA 10, I felt like I couldn't go wrong by sending it to Beckett.
See, and the other side of the coin, you're kind of talking about turnaround time, a little off topic, and I want to talk about business in general, what it takes to be in business, how much money we really make. But inventory control, turnaround time is one of the largest things small business, when I say small business, guys our size, a little bit bigger, have to contend with. If I wanted to sell this place, one of the questions is, how often a year do I turn my inventory? Stagnant inventory doesn't make you any money.
Yeah.
So there's things I buy have to be a little farther back, and I sell them farther back. Just like that graded coin. I guarantee you, I could have got another 50 or 70 bucks out of that thing.
Yeah.
But I had a buyer standing there, good customer,
Yep.
and you take the money and leave a little on the table.
Let's talk about that before we move on to our next section. On a very high end, I talked about a $7,000 comic book. I know in the past you've talked about an expensive graded Carson City.
Yep, it was over 10,000.
Talk to me about the coins on how do you even go about selling something like that? Because it's not every day someone's going to walk in here to Marion, Indiana, into our market and say, oh, there's a $10,000 coin or $7,000 comic I want to buy.
That's really true. There again, I used the internet. Another prime example, I had a $1,000 bill and a $500 bill last fall. I don't see a lot of them. They're pretty rare. We actually put that on Craigslist. I think it was Craigslist. A gentleman from Ohio called us. We talked about it, sent him a bunch of pictures. Man sent me the money, and I certified mailed him the items. He was tickled to death. It was a great transaction. But I will tell you, there's so much scamming going on. I've wired 20 and 30 grand for a card of someone I didn't even know. I wouldn't be quite as fast to do that today as I did 10 years ago. So the internet is what got us the traction on those, to where people called me. This guy actually called me on the phone. I sent him more pictures. I sent him the serial number from PCGS where he could look it up, and that's how we got that deal done.
Yeah.
That's one thing that makes our shop unique. If I think there's 50 cents in it, I will try it at least once.
Yeah.
And I'm a slow learner, so I've tried things that didn't work too good several more times than once.
Yeah.
Thinking, well, maybe next time. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
What was the question? Repeat the question.
Well, on those high-end items, if someone brought in a high-end graded item to us, sometimes the only option is to send it off to like an auction house. I know we had looked into having to send that comic book out, and fortunately it did sell on eBay, but we had plans, another 30 days if it didn't sell.
What'd they take, 20%? It was massive.
Yeah.
There again, a lot of times they make more than we do.
Yeah.
They're the only game in town. I don't necessarily like them, but you can't fault their sell rate.
Yeah. Bottom line, we do like graded collectibles, because if someone brings in a graded card, graded comic, a vintage graded coin, you can look up comparable grades, what did it sell for, and this is a rough value of what the item is.
It makes it way easier, especially in the coin world. Everything's subjective. Everybody thinks their ungraded coin is fine, very fine, MS62.
If you come in with a box of comics, a box of cards, a box of coins, and you tell us this is near mint, very fine, I'm just going to be honest, most of the time we just throw that out the window. Just to be very honest.
We're going to make our own decision.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the guy that called a few weeks back, said, I don't remember what the item was, but he said, I got this item at such and such. And I said, well, if it's new in the box, I'd look at it. And he said, yeah, it's new in the box. And he gets here and, well, I did use it and I don't have the box. So, 30 minutes before that, it was new in the box. Now we don't even have the box and he's used it. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, as they say.
Yep.
And everybody has an opinion. And since we're spending my money, we're going to start with my opinion.
I think it's important to point out too, there is a ton of skepticism in the grading world. There's a ton of lack of trust. Grading is subjective, grading is a scam. And I do want to talk about, there's some legitimacy to what people talk about. I mean, it's just like we were talking about. It incentivizes them to give you a better grade, a grade that the book might not be worth, because then they can then charge you more.
And I doubt that's intentional, but I mean, in our mind, it kind of makes sense. And I know that people have taken like some of your comics or even some of the coins, what do they call it, and they break them back out?
Yeah, they crack it.
They crack it open, send it back in, and get a better grade. And it goes both ways.
Yep.
But there are that's happened a lot of times. But there again, what kind of the days the guy's having is looking at it, and there's just a lot of factors there.
The other thing, for example, Collectors Holdings, Collectors Universe, which owns PSA, the scandals and the scams do not help. They do not help the credibility. So there's always this group that's going to say grading's a scam. For example, it was just 6 months ago, PSA has a thing where it's called grade and sell. Send in your card, they'll grade it, and you have 24 hours before they ship it back to you, they'll send you a buy offer. And a lot of times it's pretty fair. Well, they got caught. So they sent out to a guy, said, all your grades came back a 9. None of them were 10s. Here's our buy price. Kid said, well, heck, it's all modern cards, new cards. None of them got the 10. They're not worth anything. I'll just take their buy offer. 2 weeks goes by and he thinks, I'm going to check my certification numbers. PSA had changed 6 of his cards to a PSA 10 after they paid out his PSA 9 price.
Well, what could go wrong there?
And they said, oh, it was just an internal, it was a misunderstanding. That stuff doesn't help. It doesn't help who they're owned by either. So Collectors Universe, Collectors Holdings are owned by Nat Turner and Steve Cohen. Have you heard of Steve Cohen?
Isn't he like a multi-billionaire?
He's a multi-billionaire. He was caught insider trading, manipulating stocks. So get this, instead of going to jail, they fined him $1.8 billion.
How many billions did he make?
The IRS said they could not determine. They could not determine how much.
I can tell you they can determine how much money I make, and it ain't very darn much.
Well, my point is, if he can pay out $1.8 billion, he made a heck of a lot of money. Didn't go to jail. They said, you know what, you're banned from managing stocks and trading stocks for 5 years.
Okay.
So you know what he's done in the meantime? He's bought out part of PSA. He owns half of Collectors Universe. He owns the New York Mets. So people look at that type of stuff and say, you know what, there's some shady stuff going on here. Would you really be surprised if there's some shenanigans going on?
Nothing would surprise me anymore.
You take a look at CCG, Certified Collectibles Group. They are owned by Blackstone. Blackstone is owned by Vanguard and BlackRock. And Vanguard majority owns BlackRock. And everybody knows the negative connotations associated with BlackRock, how they control a portion of the money.
Yep, you're going to own nothing and be happy.
Yep, that's exactly what they're known for.
Which is about where we're at right now.
CGC had Swapgate last year, where guys, they could figure out how to pull out the comic book and put it in and reseal it. Then they had Bloatgate. The comic books, they weren't pressurized right. When they'd put them on the plane to fly them out during shipping, they would bloat. So you couldn't stack your comics. Stuff like that really does hurt their credibility. Everyone has their opinions, but at the end of the day, you do have to play the market. When someone brings in a graded card, coin, comic, you have to go with what
it's their game, and
we're here for the ride.
Kind of like eBay. It's the only game in town.
So,
I didn't know hardly any of that.
Yeah, good stuff. I think we got an Ask the Owner section. We got a couple questions that were posted. Yeah, dude, you're going viral. Have you seen our YouTube channel?
I'm a YouTube superstar.
One thing that was asked, why is it that your shop is unique?
Because of how well, maybe not how we do things, because pawn shops are regulated. You kind of got to do it the same. But what we do. I do things that are so outside the box. I'll be honest, a couple of years ago, I had a chain store looking at my shop, and they determined that we were way too specialized. We do too much online. We're too 2A friendly, too collectible friendly. Because in my mind, anything you can do that'll turn a buck or bring a customer in, it's a good thing to be doing. So we don't fit even close to the cookie cutter pawn shop guys that are out there. And I think they're kind of missing the boat. But if you had 500 stores and had 500 managers doing some of the stuff I do, you'd probably lose a lot of money. Not only that, our aesthetics. We don't look like a garage sale. I don't look like a
flea market.
Yeah, we try to have nicer stuff. Our surroundings are pleasant when you come in. We try to cater to a much broader base of people. Mm-hmm. It's not just someone commented on one of our little TikToks, oh, it's just a bunch of crackheads. Well, that's nonsense. We run all the crackheads out to start there. But we get anybody from the average person to the professional person to the doctor. They got attorneys that come in here. Mm-hmm. So we try to put out a cleaner, nicer front to help change the image of the pawn business. Yeah. I mean, the pawn business always suffered in the image department.
Yep,
everything's still, yeah, we've talked about that at length, but I'd say that would be my answer to that.
Another question that came in is, what is your best advice to help people make sure that they can always get their pawns back or pawns out of loan?
That's a good question, and I wish people would actually listen to me. When we were in the little building before we added on, I would spend a lot of time trying to help people save money. And that determined they really didn't care at the end of the day. But my best advice would be, number one, especially if you're doing a loan, make sure my people walk you through and you understand exactly how this works. It's like when I do a car loan, and we talked about this too, I have a separate form because car loans can add up. Mm-hmm. I write down the monthly charge. It's prorated after the first month. I hold it for 90 days. What's all the charges? And I make them sign it, proving that we talk about it, and I'll say, do you have any questions? So make sure you understand. Don't borrow more than you need. And we talked about this too. Have an idea what you need when you come in.
Yep.
It's not a game. We're not trying to rip you off. If you need $50, I don't need to loan you 100.
Yeah.
But if you need 100 and your items were 2, I'm not going to try to loan you 50.
Yeah.
So know what you need. The third thing would be stay on top of your business. I've had people get mad at me because I didn't call them and tell them their loan dropped out after 90 days. I got several thousand loans in here. Back when we were little, I would do that a lot. Mm-hmm. I don't have the time, and I don't follow what people have in here. Mm-hmm. If it comes due and it's not paid, and you don't pick anything up, it's going on the rack. Stay on top of your business. Another piece of advice would be, even if you can't get it out, come in and make some kind of payment on it.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a complete monthly payment. Yeah. Anything to keep you from getting so far behind.
Yeah.
It's the same as a credit card. If you just pay your monthly payment, you never get ahead. I would recommend pay your monthly payment, whatever it is, and an extra $5, $10, or $20 so you can start gaining some ground on it.
I would say in addition to that, talk to us.
Yeah, if you got any questions on how it works, this is what we do. My job is to sell money. That's what we do. But I want to sell it to people I know it's going to pay it back and on items that have a little value. And that's not always the case. I've loaned on
a bucket of dog biscuits.
I have a couple times. Just, kibbles and bits. But they come back every time. But you've got to stay on top of your business. Stay in contact with us. If people come, you'd pull mine. Well, I didn't know it was yours because you put it in your buddy's name. That's information you might tell us.
Yeah.
We got notes in our system. We're not super smart. We just take a lot of notes. Yeah. People will rip me off and a year later are amazed that I remember. Yeah, buddy, I put a note in your system that you scammed me. It works two ways, but you got to stay on top of your stuff. Don't borrow more than you need. And make sure you stay in contact and make some payments.
Yep. If you just pay the minimum interest payment, all you are doing is buying time.
Yes.
That's all you are doing. I explained it to a lady today. She said, well, now when I come back next month, how much will my payment be down? And I said, it won't be down at all. You are simply buying another month so that I don't sell your item.
And we talked about this at length in one of the Pawncast. The pawn shops, even though we're considered a financial institution, we're regulated different. Once we do a loan, I cannot change the terms of that contract.
Yes.
Where you go to a bank, you're paying X dollars on principal, X dollars on interest, and every month it comes down 20 cents. In a pawn business, that parameters doesn't change. Whatever you borrow, that monthly charge, you're just paying the service charge. If you pay 2 months worth of service charges, you're paid ahead. And if you come back the next week and get it out, yes, it comes off of what you owe. If you let it ride for the month, it'll eat it up. But it doesn't bring down. If you borrowed $100, when you come back, you're still going to owe the $100. Now, if you pay extra each month, at some point, you'll be paid to where it doesn't cost you anything to get your item out. But it'll always be interest on whatever amount you borrow because that's how the state has it set up.
Yep. Let's do our favorite portion, the last portion of our show today, the Doofus of the week. Who do we got?
Oh, boy.
There's actually several, I think.
I've got... this is more personal than it is maybe entertaining. I don't know. But most people figured out that I took a week off because I had one of them mile marker black balloon days. And my guys were telling me they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And I said, I really don't care because I'm not going to be here. So we go out of town, come back. Then I do appreciate everybody giving me happy birthday. And even the people wished I didn't have another birthday. I appreciate you anyway. But lo and behold, hold that for a second. I got a couple birthday greetings in the mail, all on the same day, and a present from the state all on the same day. So for my Doofus of the week, I actually got two of them. A couple of our state representatives. I'm really kind of proud of these. Both wishing me congratulations on making it to old man and thanking me for the amount of years that I've paid my taxes. And I think they were so excited about these Biden's auto pin on it. So to Nick and Lori, I hope you got primaried out. Because here's the present they sent me. I got these all the same day. My updated property tax bill. This building went up $140,000 a year in its assessment. My taxes next year have went up almost $5,000 on my properties. I haven't even made a nickel next year. So Doofuses of the week, thank you very much. How about you save your 20 cents here and try to do something to help the people? That's what I got to say about that. And no, I'll not be voting on you because you sent me congratulations on getting an old card.
Oh, I wish I would have brought it. Yeah, I got sent a birthday card. And my gripe's the same thing. My property taxes are too high, whether you told me happy birthday or not.
Yeah, I'm not going to vote for them just because they send me. But to send me birthday greetings and, oh, thanks, you owe me more money on the same day, that kind of takes the sincerity out of it.
Well, and once again, I'm not paying my politician to pat me on the back and tell me happy birthday.
They didn't sign it anyway.
Yeah, they didn't sign it. Paid an intern to put it in there and print it off and paid the postage to ship it to me.
We're digressing awful hard, aren't we?
But you know what? We do have good news.
We do?
We do have good news.
Gas prices are coming down?
I was going to say we are on Apple Podcast and we're now on Spotify.
Bad time sounding like Apple products. I'm not smart enough.
Well, but people who have Apple products can listen to us talk.
That'd be smart.
That would be very smart.
You know what's funny? A lot of customers will come in and ask me something. I'll say, well, you should listen to Podcast 3 because we talked about that for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
It's true. So
we appreciate everybody watching. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight. Make sure you leave some questions, something I can answer.
And go listen to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Thank you.